I mean, for starters, it's not the 3-round burst, but it actually focuses on accuracy a lot more. And with the single shot, you have to sort of line up the little reticule with the player's head. And, the more you fire, like in some other games, the less accurate it becomes if you keep firing it over and over again.
Yep.
So you kind of have to, time your shots together, and it doesn't become... It's not nearly as powerful as the battle rifle was in the previous
It's
game.
too slow for a fast-paced game like Halo.
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're saying.
Well, I mean, like, the battle rifle was so effective, even in, close to mid-range,
Yeah,
whereas
I remember the battle rifle, like what you're talking with the expanding reticule. I mean, I remember that from Halo 2. It would snap out when you first fired, but then it would snap right back in, so you could just keep firing as much as you wanted.
I mean, the next set of bullets are ready to go with the battle rifle. You're ready to go in. So that's one of the biggest changes I've noticed.
So how's your loadout changing? What are you trying to work with?
I mean, I'm getting slowly better and better with the DMR. So I'm still liking the DMR. It's just taking some getting used to. It's hard to part with an old friend.
Yeah.
But I'm liking it a lot more than the new Covenant equivalent, which is the Needler rifle.
I was heard you having trouble with that before.
I play with that thing. That thing, it feels kind of useless to me.
I wouldn't say that. It's certainly it's the DMR equivalent for the Covenant, and if you get enough shots in, eventually the needles will actually explode, much like the Needler does. And it's certainly good, and if it's in a distant situation, I could recommend the weapon, but I don't know. It doesn't seem as powerful as the DMR seems, and it seems like...
The thing is, though, when you're using the elites and the Covenant and whatnot, they're a very mid to short range species, because you see all their weapons are designed for the short. The energy sword, the elites are faster. You got things like your jumping and your teleportation. Sorry, not teleportation, invisibility and whatnot to get closer to people. So this one long ranged weapon kind of seems a little out of place.
Yeah, I mean. Just going into some more, weapons that were introduced in the beta. I believe might be called the plasma launcher. I usually refer to it as the sticky launcher.
Is that the giant death ray?
No, that is the focus rifle. The focus rifle, it's kind of funny. It functions as a sniper rifle, but it's not really a sniper rifle. It's actually I feel like it's actually
a tank killer?
Easier for no. There's another tank killer which I'm about to mention.
It's like a machine gun Spartan laser.
It's basically if anyone remembers the Sentinel beam,
which is pretty extreme.
If anyone remembers the almost useless Sentinel beam from the previous Halo, it's basically like that but with a good scope on it. So you can actually hold the beam down on people from a distance and take them out from a really long distance, but it's not something where somebody pops his head around the corner and then he's done with. If he's can get cover before you finish him off, they'll usually survive.
Oh yeah, I remember being killed by that constantly.
Yeah, but I certainly like it. But the plasma launcher, on the other hand, this could serve as a new anti-tank weapon, and it's also just a really good weapon in general. You charge it up, and it shoots up to 4 giant sticky blasts, and it just sticks onto people, and it locks onto them, just like the Needler, except they're massive explosive things that if you get hit with just one of them, unless you have armor lock, like I tend to use. Once again, I'm recommending it. You're screwed. So, so I mean, that gun is awesome, and I think it's smart that they only put it really on sword base, or I guess they also put it on the invasion map Boneyard, because there's a lot of corners you can kind of avoid it. But that thing is powerful. That thing is
pretty much unlike
awesome.
On an open field. It just dominates because there's nowhere to hide from it.
Oh yeah, I mean it locks right onto the guy. So you can't just run out and fire it. You have to actually charge it up, and you can't hold the charge, or else it will fire the blast. But
so you gotta time it.
You do have to sort of time it, but I mean, it fires 4 of them, and only one of them needs to be close to the target to take them out, and it locks on. So it's pretty awesome, I gotta say.
Other than bringing back the battle rifle, what was one thing you would really want to change about the Reach beta?
One thing I really want to change. I mean, the battle rifle thing, it certainly bothered me for a while, but ultimately it could be a decision for the better. Just because I'm noticing by taking out that, I'm personally using a lot more of the weapons that I probably wouldn't have normally used. One other thing that sort of annoyed me, and it's going to take some getting used to, but it's not really the end of the world, is the new change in the melee system. In Halo 3, melee was king. Like, in Halo 2 it was pretty good. In Halo 3 it was basically like, you
Finish a clip, get him with the beatdown.
exactly. Like, that was the recipe for formula for anyone who was like first starting to play the Halo series. Anyone could do that, and anyone could use it effectively. It just worked. But now, if they have any shield whatsoever, like even like the smallest little bit of shield, they'll survive your melee. So it pretty much requires in most situations that if you get into like a melee fight, you're gonna have to get 2 melees in. Which,
So it's putting a lot more stress on your guns and shooting abilities.
yeah, it certainly does. If you can get the person's shield down before you go in for the melee, it certainly makes a bigger difference. Like, you won't... Whereas in Halo 3, you get most of their shield down, and then you'll be like, alright, time to run in for the melee, and then finish them off. Whereas in this case, you both do that, and even if you have significantly more shield than he does, you're both going to melee each other, you're both going to be down to no shield, and then you're both going to try and melee each other again.
Yeah.
So
they're just kind of weaker. They're not Master Chief strong, and they're just kind of,
I mean, the Spartan 3s are certainly tough, but the melee, they significantly dialed it down. And also another important thing to notice with the melee is that somebody runs at you with a sword now. They actually nerfed it a little bit. I wouldn't say nerfed because the sword is still a very effective weapon. But if somebody charges at you with the sword and you time your melee right, you will actually block their sword lunge. I mean,
God.
you take a little
Imagine
bit of
doing that in real life. Someone coming at you with a sword, you'd be like, you know what? Here's my arm.
Oh, I do it all the time. Right?
It's like that. You gotta be like,
Why
you get
did
like
I
super
do
jacked up. Be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
I mean, it certainly changes things because it used to be like, all right, guy pops out of the corner with a sword, and you see him coming the whole time, but you know there's nothing you can do about it. Now, I mean, there's like that chance, It's not a good chance, but there's the chance that you can win that fight. And I've won a couple of them myself, and I think every now and then it just sort of happens. But that certainly changes the way the weapons function in the previous games. But I think, like I mentioned before, the biggest change, and I know you guys played some of this in my place, is the class system and the new armor abilities. So what do you...
The Grenadier class was fun for me.
Is that what you like? That's actually an invasion-specific game.
I was just surprised to see a grenade launcher. I think that's really what did it for me, because I was like, wow, there's
well, they had the
that's
brute
like-
shot before. I mean, that was the grenade launcher.
But the brute
Yeah.
shot, it was...
Not exactly.
Yeah, it was a straight... In Halo
This is
3,
literally,
it fired
boom,
straight
grenade
into the-
launcher, go.
Yeah.
And there's...
Yeah.
I mean, what I kind of really thought was fun was really just experimenting with the classes and modes we're playing to unlock more guns, and how you're doing gives you more equipment, and that was the kind of stuff that I really had fun toying around with, is kind of the cause and effect, and that was cool, and I just like the class. I really just was digging the class system. I was like, I wasn't good with any of them, but because I haven't played on a freaking console in forever, but it was fun. Like, okay, well, this guy does stuff like this and different armor abilities. I just thought the armor abilities were great.
So, like Twisted, I know you're a big fan of the jetpack. Why
Yes.
why the jetpack?
Well, I've always been a fan of mid-aerial combat, and I liked it because where I was first introduced to jetpacking was back in Unreal Tournament 2004. I would always play in low gravity because you would stay in the air for so long. Effectively, you were flying, and I just loved being able to get the jump on people from up above, and it made headshots really easy.
Yeah,
So-
it certainly has its advantages, especially
Yes.
just for getting to different ledges. But also, we have the rocket launcher and the advantage of height.
You're just
Yes.
a target now.
Well, I mean,
Now you're
Awesome.
raining to death.
Yes,
Yes.
basically.
well, yeah. Now it's just also too. It's an effective anti-rocket launcher weapon. If you got some guy who's just because the typical fight between a rocket launcher between two rocket launchers is a dance. You're always you're jumping in the air trying to shoot at where each other's gonna land. If you have the jetpack, now he has to hit you. It's kind of hard.
Which is like Team Fortress 2 kind of skill you need to
Yes.
channel, which
Yeah.
is hard.
I mean, it's really hard to hit someone in the air with a rocket. Can't
Yeah,
hit
what you're saying is correct.
I remember we're doing that achievements. We were going
Yes.
1, 2, 3. We still couldn't hit each other.